Ruben Amorim is in a rush to win Premier League. That is what we have with regards to the reaction from the press conference that has just happened a couple of hours ago. He says that Man United are in a rush to regain our place at the top of the English Premier League. I mean, United are obviously 13th on the table. And we're going into the clash pre Manchester City. So as we're going to the clash at the Manchester Derby, Ruben Amorim has acknowledged that the club and the team are going through a period of short-term change in pursuit of long-term improvement. Now, Manchester United head coach has made it clear that the club is in a rush to return to the top of English football ahead of Sunday's Manchester derby. I mean, the Portuguese coach has outlined his vision for United's future, acknowledging the challenges for, but also refusing to, accept a slow build. And now here is a breakdown. I've given 5 points to Manchester United's head coach press conference. I've just listed out 5 points or 5 things that we gained and all the things that we can take home from the press conference. And here's a breakdown of the key messages of what they mean and with regards to United's immediate and long-term future. Now, with Amorim's thoughts on basically the Premier League and the challenge to winning, he says we are in a rush. That is Amorim's mindset. Amorim dismissed the idea that United need years and years to compete again, insisting that the club must push for rapid improvement. Obviously, they kept pushing and pushing and pushing and asking him questions. And one of the questions they asked him was with regards to the club's futuristic plan of winning the Premier League by 2028, so in 3 years. And he says, no, I don't want to think like that. I don't want to think we need a lot of years to be competitive. I cannot think like that. It's not in me. We are in a rush. Next year, we are suffering a lot for next year to be so much better. So he's focused on basically, working hard to try to see how we can be better for next year. Amorim is not content with a slow rebuild, and he's also setting a high internal standard. He said he's pushing himself, he's pushing the players, and pushing the club, even if the title challenge next season is unrealistic. He also said um, it will be stupid to think that we're going to win the Premier League next season as well. So basically, the focus is on immediate progress while focusing on long-term consistency instead of waiting for the distant future and saying, oh, and this is what in his words, oh, we don't want to get to 2028 and say this is the year we're going to win the title. We're going to keep, going and pushing and improving ourselves and improving the team. And basically, he was pushed on other things with regards to summer transfer plans and all of that. And Amorim hinted at major signings this summer, but admitted the financial constraints mean that players need to leave first. This was based on the question that was asked to him with regards to signing new players, and that Manchester City were going to be spending 180 million pound. They spent 180 million pounds in January, and does that mean that big players we need to leave for signings? And he said, oh, we need to bring in one or two big players. Sometimes big players for me are different from big players to you, right? Other teams like City can spend 180 million in January, but we must focus on our strengths, because they kept pushing him and asking him questions about signings. And he said, oh, we must focus on what is most important to us. And then with regards to what this means, with regards to Amorim's comment, so United are likely to target signings, elite signings, basically, but sales like Casemiro, Anthony, maybe even like with departures from Christian Eriksen and Co. may be necessary. I mean, Amorim's definition of big player might also be different from fans, or he could also prioritize tactical fits over big names, which is where the direction that Ineos is taking, or Ineos is going with regards to the club rebuild. Now, the club must also be smarter in the market than rivals with bigger budgets, obviously. And then one of the answers that Amarim gave was basically that in as much as we're trying to rebuild and get to a certain standard, that or catch up to a certain standard that has been set by teams like Man City, those teams are also trying to improve. So we need to keep improving consistently. And he said we're suffering now so that we can be better for next season. The third point with regards to the press conference and what we've gained is that the questions that they asked him was in regards to rotations and players and what he's going to do, seeing as there's also a big game in the Europa League on Thursday, because the Europa League obviously has become more important. Said and this are titled the Manchester Derby and short-term focus. Despite the Europa League quarterfinals looming, Amorim won't rotate heavily against City. That is what he suggested. Key quotes to that is that what he said was, we want to win this game, improve on in the league table, and build confidence. Basically, win the game, improve in the league table, and build confidence. And we're going to have a full focus on this game, because they kept asking him about the future game, and he's like, "No, the focus is on now, and we have to focus on it game by game." And then with regards to team news, he stated that Kobe Minu is back in training, but not fit to start and not fit to play a full game. Mason Mount could feature. He actually said could start, because they asked the question that he's been back in training for about 4 weeks, and that the last time he played was in December against City as well. So it's like Mason Mount could feature after about 4 weeks in training. Matthias de Ligt is a doubt after picking up a knock versus Forest. So Amorim sees the derby as a critical part to build for momentum, even if the Europa League is a bigger trophy chance basically for us this season. Man United's Mason Mount returns. His return could also be a boost, but his minutes will be managed carefully. As Amorim said, we have to manage his load and all of that, but he's back in training and things are working out well as regards Mason Mount. And then the next one was a question around Alejandro Garnacho's development and team improvement. Amorim defended Alejandro Garnacho, who has struggled for end product this season, has literally played many games for a young player who's just 20, and then he has struggled to show up this season. But Amorim was stating other things that Garnacho had been doing to improve the team. He said that he's doing the right things like any player. He has to choose better in the final third. So he has to make the right choices and the right decisions in the final third. He said he's improving defensively and working hard. He's running back. That's his Amorim's key word in that, but needs more goals and assists. And I think that is what is wrong with Alejandro Garnacho. He's trying to play for himself to get the goals and the assists, but he needs to also focus on team improvement, because with team improvement comes goals and assists. So that is what Amorim had to say. And then he says Garnacho, what this means is that Garnacho remains a key uh, part of this project, of this Amorim project, but needs to elevate his decision making, and the entire attack must improve. Bruno Fernandes is the only reliable creator. That's what Ruben Amorim said, and he said everybody needs to work hard to also help Garnacho to also improve. So, I mean, there's also news. Even like some of the big YouTube content creators are reporting that Amorim, Alejandro Garnacho could be up for sale as well. So it is interesting. We're just going to be observing that, and whatever comes up, we'll let you know. So let me know your thoughts and feelings about this one, and don't forget to smash the like button, hit the notification bell, so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. Now, with regards to the bigger picture, which is the number 5 and final point on this, is that we need to catch City and the pack, basically, because they asked him questions about, oh, if you have to catch up with City and Arsenal, that there is also the likes of Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton, and Bournemouth to catch up with and surpass. And Morim admitted that the gap to City is huge, even though City are fifth on the table right now, but he won't use it as an excuse. The key quotes to this, he said, was that we have bigger problems than Manchester City, obviously. Now the Premier League is different now as to when it was during, because we talked about times when this people have mentioned to him that Sir Alex Ferguson took at least 4 to 5 years to be able to win his first trophy. But he's like, the pressure then is different from the pressure now, even though it says the pressure is different, and the Premier League is also different. Villa, Newcastle, Brighton, and Bournemouth have all grown. Even the likes of Aston Villa, as a case in point. They've grown, they've evolved, they're signing better players. They're even signing players like Sensio, who is supposed to have been said to be finished, and doing well, doing things, and the other Dortmund guy as well who they signed. So obviously, what this means is that United aren't just chasing City and Arsenal; they must also overtake Villa, Newcastle, and Brighton. Obviously, and then Amorim knows that the pressure is higher than in Ferguson's early days due to the modern football demands. He specifically highlighted or admitted that obviously the pressure is different now because now you have to do at least 3 interviews. He said it, 3 interviews before every game, and that is a lot. So the pressure is a lot and it's different now than Ferguson's early days. Now, basically, this whole press conference gave the idea that Amorim has a challenge, and the challenge is that he's walking on a tightrope. Now, he is ambitious. He refuses to accept a long rebuild. It's realistic. He knows that United won't challenge for the title next season. He's demanding because he's pushing the club to work faster in the transfer market. But my verdict to this is that if United must win or must like get to that level, United must sign smart. We must make back Ruben Amorim with smart signings that could rise quickly. If not, Amorim's rush might just lead to a frustration, both for him and the fans. So Sunday's derby will now show, obviously, that if it will now show if the team is actually progressing or the gap to City is still far too wide. And for me, and for Amorim in this situation, I think Sunday's game is also a good opportunity for Ruben Amorim to show that the team, the tactics is working, and the changes that are going on, or the rebuild in the squad is actually working. But for me, it's like that's a third consecutive game against Pep Guardiola. Would that be a win? Because he won against Pep Guardiola this season in the Champions League and won 2-1 against Pep Guardiola again this season in the Premier League with Man United. The first one was with Sporting, now with Man United. Will it be a third time better than you know, Pep Guardiola? Let me know in the comment section. What are your expectations? What do you think about this press conference? What do you think about Amorim's thoughts on certain players, including players like Alejandro Garnacho and the rest? Let me know your thoughts and feelings. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United news, updates, and even personal reaction. So let me know your thoughts and feelings about this one, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.